What's going on, everyone? I can't tell if this setup is giving off more newscaster vibes or evil villain Lex Luthor vibes, so let me know that in the comments. Get us started out there hot. Welcome back to another Prepisode, number 2. As you know, 16 weeks out. Got a big bench day for you coming on this nice Saturday morning. And I want to quickly go over some tips and tricks of what I learned along the way of my first prep that I'm going to implement to have a more successful prep this time. I want to emphasize that, again, this is just what I've learned along the way. I am not a powerlifting coach giving anyone advice. This is something that if it applies to you and you can implement it as well, that's phenomenal. Don't take this as the Bible. This is just my experience and what I've learned. First and foremost, not to sugarcoat it at all, don't expect to get outstanding results from subpar or no work. What you put into this prep is going to be exactly what you get out of it. So if you're like me, I don't think I need to say this, but I'm super competitive. Obviously, I signed up to compete in a competition, right? I fully commit. So this is something that I take very seriously, and I make sure that I treat every day as valuable. The number one biggest piece of advice that I have when it comes to preparing for your first powerlifting meet is hire a coach. And make sure this coach knows what the heck they're doing. Make sure it's someone who's reputable. I always would recommend that it's a coach who actually powerlifts, and ideally in the same federation that you're trying to compete in. Second level to that, I would also say if it's someone local to you or someone who's willing to travel, because the meet day handler is going to be a very important role as well. Once you do find that coach that you're looking for, set realistic goals. Take inventory of where you're at right now, how long you have to work towards the meet, and then have realistic goals of what you think you can hit on meet day. One thing, I know myself, this doesn't really apply to me. I'm a full throttle kind of guy, but I've seen this bite other people. Don't wait to turn up the dial and say, okay, we're 4 weeks out from the meet, it's time to get serious. If you're serious about the meet, you should be serious from the time that you sign up for the meet. The best prep is going to be gradual. So you set these goals with your coach. You're not going to try to hit that squat goal week 2 of your program. You need to give it time for your strength to build up. Rome wasn't built in a day. As a Celtics fan, it always hurts me to say this, but the Sixers were right with one thing, the saying they have, trust the process. I'm a firm believer in that. If you don't rush it, if you stay in the pocket with your lifts, over time you will progress and you will get stronger. When it comes to training, I would say something that's super important is to stay in the pocket. The longer you train, the easier it'll be for you to learn what the pocket means for you, because it's different for everybody. Everybody's build is different range of motion, different amount of muscle mass, so on and so forth. So go into every session with a number in mind of, oh, this is what my bench single at 6 to 7 could be today. But always make sure to take what's there. Putting my personal trainer hat on for this next one, always make good nutritional choices. By now, you probably know that you want to choose anabolic foods. Anabolic means muscle building. At the center of every strength training program is going to be the concept of muscle building, which means you want to prioritize protein, and you most likely want to be in a caloric surplus, because when you eat protein at maintenance, you're more just maintaining your muscle, or if you're in a deficit, you're really just holding on to as much muscle and trying to lose it slower. So I always recommend being in a surplus if strength is the goal, because that's something that's going to be directly correlated to muscle building. And then as you get closer to the meet, you can figure out what your weight class is, if you need to water cut or if you're good where you're at. I would also emphasize to never underestimate the importance of hydration. I always take a salt electrolyte packet with every workout, and I feel like just because I drink a lot of caffeine, I naturally get somewhat dehydrated. So this is something that I feel like it's definitely helped me stay more hydrated. And that's something that not only affects performance, but it definitely affects how you sleep. It affects your mood throughout the day, productivity, and things like that. Similar concept to that is going to be recovery. So make sure to prioritize sleep. You probably know by now 6 to 8 hours of good sleep per night. The more the better on that range. And then something that I'm putting a big focus on as well is going to be stretching, foam rolling, and massage gun. You'll be very surprised the direct and indirect impact that nutrition and recovery are going to actually have on your overall strength progress and meet day itself. I would also say as you get closer to meet day, you want to familiarize yourself with the equipment that you're going to use on meet day. So like wrist wraps, knee sleeves, if you use deadlift slippers. Don't buy a new pair of knee sleeves the week before the meet. You want to give yourself time to break them in. But with the similar idea of equipment, if you go to a commercial gym or a private gym that doesn't have powerlifting equipment, you want to try out some powerlifting equipment because the competition standard bench is very different than a commercial bench. It's much wider and higher. And then it also has a little give back and forth. So when you're digging your shoulders or if you're on low bar squat, when you're getting under the bar, the rack itself having a little give allows you to dig a little bit deeper into your shoulders to get a little bit more stable of an unrack, which, as you know, is a very important part of the rep. Finally, always familiarize yourself with the rules of the federation that you're competing in. Control what you can control, so never leave it in the judge's hands. If different federations have different rules about what squat depth means, you should know exactly what it means for the federation you're competing in, because you don't want to get a red light based on something that you could have controlled. And let me know in the comments if there's anything that you've learned in your time on prep that could help somebody else have a more successful prep. Like I said before, I've got a bench single coming up, RPE 6 to 7. My calories and body weight have been going up pretty steadily, which, as everyone knows, the lift that is most influenced by body weight is going to be bench. So this is where I expect to see the most immediate progress when it comes to how the weight is moving. So I have a number in mind of what I want to hit. Let's see how it turns out.
Just pulled up to zoo, getting ready for a little Saturday morning bench day. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I'm just California soft, I've been here for too long, but it was fucking cold this morning. My car says it's 41 degrees. No bueno. Cold hands plus bench. We'll see how this goes. Only one way to find out. Let's get into it.
Here are a few of my key bench warm-up movements. I always like to get my rear delts activated as well as loosen up my shoulder joints with these next couple of movements. I also like to attach the band to the squat rack so I can use it to engage different muscles that I'm going to be using throughout the course of my bench, like my delts, triceps, and lats.
Sometimes I feel like throw my hands up in the air. I know I can count on you. Sometimes I feel like saying, Lord, I just don't care. But you got the love I need to see me through.
Feeling pretty warm even though it's pretty cold. My hands have successfully warmed up. My feet are still a little cold, but it's like every machine in the gym to warm up. Lateral raise, hammer curls, underrated bench warm up. Leg extensions, hamstring curls for some lower activation. Lacing up the Avancus now. I still got the version 1.0. Though 1.5's dropped yesterday. In the comments, let me know if anyone got them. Do they really got that gorilla grip? Like, is it that much better than the first?
You got the love, you got the love, you got the love. You got the love, you got the love, you got the love.
because since I started wearing a mouthpiece for bench, it's making like the cadence to get a lift off like slightly more difficult because I can't really talk while I have it in my mouth. So I literally have communicated to Josh, and like we have like a little like eye contact where it's like I brace and then we kind of like look at each other, and then that's like the green light for the lift off. So it's been interesting getting used to it, but we're in a little bit of a rhythm now.
Sometimes I feel like throw my hands up in the air. I know I can count on you. Sometimes I feel like saying, Lord, I just don't care. But you got the
Torched.
This is one of the hardest parts about bulking on prep is I have a 6 to 7 today, so that's like a very moderate, conservative day. Like I just hit 250 pretty fucking clean because bench is the most affected by body weight. So seeing an increase in body weight means I'm going to see an increase in strength in bench. But my issue has always, not issue, but like when it comes to like RPEs and stuff, I'm good at judging like the RPE on the rep I just did, but I've always had trouble judging forecasting my RPE, just like based on like endurance and stuff. So I had a lot of times on my first prep where I would just do like a weight like 250, like very fucking clean like I just did, and I would go up, but I would make too big of a jump, and then I would end up overshoot. I would go from undershooting to overshooting, and I would just completely miss the pocket. So that's something that I always recommend. Take smaller jumps on bench, and that's definitely the most influential of the 3 lifts when it comes to taking what's there.
Followed up that easy single with some back downs, had 4x4 on the menu today. Here is 100 keys, 220 pounds on the bar. Man, if it's on the menu, you know I ate it up. Bulk season in full effect right now. Finish this session up with some close grip hook lying bench with your feet on the bench and your back pretty flat. Followed that up with some easy bar curls. Got a sick pump, so you know we had to hit a pose sesh. Let's go.
Alright, rounding out today's video, we got the steering wheel angle in the benzo. Solid bench day out there for sure. Hit, as I'm sure you saw by now, 250. That actually used to be my PR. Touch and go, like RPE 9.9 before I started working with Andrew and started powerlifting. So it's always nice to see that shit move like a 6. Definitely had a little bit more in the tank, but didn't want to like jump too high and end up overshooting because it was only a 6 to 7. So kept it moderate, kept it in the pocket. Gonna send that video to coach, see what he says. I think he'll be happy with it. I'm definitely happy with it, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I definitely see 2 reds in my future on bench again. That's exciting stuff. Let's go. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Looking forward to see you in the next one. Have a great day, y'all.